After someone's lost a loved one, it's normal to ask, how long will probate take? Well, I can't answer that question for every state, but here in Texas, our law office has handled nearly 1,500 probate cases, so I think I'm a pretty good guide for how long probate takes and why it takes as long as it does. Well, first of all, you need to know there are kind of two main types of probate, at least in my mind. There's probate when there was a will, and probate when there was no will. So let's first talk about probate when there is a will. Now, first of all, probate is the process that a will goes through in court to basically get validated. So if a person passes away and a will hasn't been through probate, well, the will's really not doing anything. The will has to be validated by the probate judge. And that's typically going to require a legal process and an attorney like me. So when we handle a probate case, it really depends on whether or not there's a will. So if there is a will, the good news is that the process is much, much faster. And to put a finer point on that, I can sometimes get a probate case handled from beginning to end in as little as 2 weeks. And so for a lot of people, particularly people who are from out of state, they can't believe that it might only take 2 weeks. They're expecting it to be months or even years. But here in Texas, if you have a good, valid last will and testament, that probate of a will process could take as little as just 2 weeks. Now, I would say the average is probably a little bit longer than that. I would say probably more like 5 or 6 weeks is the average. And if the court's really busy, it can take several months. The other factors can sort of be, in addition to whether or not the court's really busy, is there something wonky with the will? I mean, a lot of times when we first meet with a client, I want to know, was this will done by a lawyer, or was this will done some sort of DIY job like a online will or something like that? Because those are going to take longer. A good attorney drafted will is going to be faster. It's going to fall closer to that 2-week range. Whereas if we have the online kind of weird will, or something that's questionable or handwritten, those wills could take a lot longer because there's more evidence to convince the judge, and that's just going to take longer. Another factor might be how experienced your attorney is. Here in our office, we have a system for everything because our law office really focuses on estate planning and probate. Well, if you have a general practice attorney or an attorney that doesn't have a lot of experience with probate matters, there's going to be some on-the-job training, and that could create a longer process. Another factor in how long a will probate may take is actually the judge herself, through no fault of her own. But some of these probate judges in Texas will handle thousands of cases every year. And so with a very busy docket, even if they're remarkably efficient, it could take a long time to get through that process. Now, the probate process is going to take a lot longer if there is no valid last will and testament. So first of all, the probate process when there is no will in Texas is called a determination of heirship. And that determination of heirship process typically takes a minimum of 6 weeks and can sometimes take 6 months or even a year to complete. Now, the reason that the process without a will takes a lot longer should be obvious. I mean, the system is designed basically not to trust you. I mean, of course, you're going to say you're an heir to this estate. You're greedy. You're going to try to get money. And so the system is not designed for good, honest people. It's designed for the greedy, crazy, bad apples in our society. And so we have these systems and structures to make sure that the heirs who are claiming to be heirs are really the true and correct heirs. And so the system is basically designed not to believe you. And there's a lot of proof that has to be given to that probate judge before the judge is allowed to sign off on that determination of heirship. So a typical probate case when there is no will is going to require a lot more legal notices and citations and serving different people. It will require having disinterested witnesses participating in a court hearing and probably the appointment of a neutral attorney ad litem. And you can imagine that all those different steps add up to a lot more time. So in summary, again, here in Texas, if you have a good attorney drafted will, that probate process could be as little as just 2 weeks. If you don't have a good attorney drafted will and you have to go through the probate process called determination of heirship, it could take a couple of months, but it's more likely to take 3 or 4 months, and a lot of our cases have taken 6 months, a year, or even more in very complicated cases.